Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's show, and we're going to talk about delivering results today. And I think there's a lot surrounding the purpose of delivering results. And I think, I could kick off and say how it demonstrates effectiveness and ultimately I think transforms our intentions and things into an actual tangible accomplishment. But if you're watching and wondering today, like, how is this going to be relevant to me? I think if you think about things like your career advancement or even just getting that recognition and increase your engagement in whatever you're actually doing, whether it's generally what your goals set out and then things as well, getting results helps you actually achieve your goals. And then it really creates that accountability for yourself within your role, whatever that may be. Whether it's your personal goals, whether it's at work or within your role at work. And I think ultimately drives that productivity and your own performance forward. I mean, for you, Jim, the importance of, you've built businesses and had your own buy-to-let business, your own, estate agency things. How important is delivering results and having your team deliver the results to push things forward within a business aspect?
Well, your whole budget's revolved around your results. And what you need to achieve. So the whole thing, this is where a lot of people, I think, they don't understand how they need to do a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, a business plan is driven from the sales. But then you have to work out how many sales you're going to get, and then you work out based on the customers you're going to have, and then work out what your costs are going to be as a result of that. And then that should end up telling you where your margins are. But if you don't hit your results, then it could be fatal to some businesses. Let me give you an example here. So a business earning, say, a turnover, and it's just simplistic, a turnover of £1,000, in other words, sales of £1,000, who make a 10% net profit margin, which in other words, the profit is £100. So £1,000 at the top, £100 profit at the bottom. The costs are obviously £900, which is 90% of the business or the turnover. Turnover and sales are the same, by the way. So you would think a 4% difference in the sale price wouldn't be that fatal to a business in that scenario. But a 4% difference in the sale price is £40. £40 off the bottom line is 40% of the net profit.
40% in 100, yeah.
So 40% of your net profit is wiped out like that, only because you thought, well, it's only a 4% price difference at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why it's so important to deliver the results that are necessary or exceed the results that are necessary in a business in order to make sure it survives. There's so many people out there that don't get that at all and don't understand the business. Richard Branson to be one of them. But he's fortunate because he knows how to employ people.
He's got the right people in place to,
Yeah, he just works out. It's like, if as long as I've got enough fishes in the net, that was what he was told. Then that's your profit and that's what you're left with. In other words, the ocean, for example, is, one day, one of his finance people, when they were talking about the numbers, realised over the table that he doesn't actually know what he's thinking. He doesn't actually know what this is in front of him, what a business plan is in front of him. He doesn't know what net profit is, and he doesn't understand what sales is. This was a way into, by the way, where Virgin was a huge organisation. So he took him aside outside the room and said, Richard, do you understand profit and loss and balance sheets and stuff like that? And he went, I have no idea what it is. He said, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's imagine, and he drew a big circle. He says, that's the world, and there's the ocean in the world. And this is all the fishes in the sea. And this is your potential turnover, the potential that you've got. It says that's what your sales are, your potential sales, the fishes in the sea. But if you cast a net, which is your business, and then you capture the fishes in the net of the business, then that's your sales. That's your share of sales at the top. It says, but if you have to employ people and the costs to employ people and get a boat and have a net and buy a net and all the rest of it, he says that's a cost to catching these fishes. So he says, then we'll have to take that off of what the fishes were in the first place. So you're left with X amount of fishes. And he went, yeah, I get it. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. I understand that. And effectively, that's it in a rudimentary way.
And a simplified way. Yeah.
It's that simple. Most people do not realize that as soon as they hear profit and loss, balance sheet, net margin, gross margin, return on capital, as soon as they hear all these things, profit before interest and taxation, and it's like they just go blank.
Right over their head.
Like,
yeah.
Listen, when it comes down to it, the reality is it's whatever you sell something, it's whatever you're selling and whatever it costs. And if you've got profit left, that is it in a nutshell. Business is that simple. You just need to make sure you sell enough in order to cover the costs in order to get a profit at the end. That simple. You don't need to completely understand the balance sheet and everything like that. It'd be great, but if you don't, you make sure you do have somebody that understands that and is able to interpret that to you in a way which is legible, so you know how to make decisions based on facts.
Yeah, and I mean, how important, and I know obviously how important it is, but just obviously for the discussion, to keep an eye on where you are, like you say, what you're trying to achieve, where you are at the moment, and how you're going to get to where you are, and keep an eye on these kind of measurable like goals and targets.
That's called a budget.
Yeah, in order to make sure you're going to hit where you've planned to be.
So what is a budget? A budget is what you expect it to cost and what you expect to sell. I'll give you an example of a budget in a household. You've got 5 different jars. That one is the £10 I put in every week for the electricity. That one is the £10 I put in for the gas. That is the 100 or 150 quid I put in for food every week for us all. That is the car payment. That's the £200 I put in every single month for the car payment, and that is the individual jars. Now today, most banks actually have separate budget accounts for people. They let them set up all the individual budget accounts, and all the money goes to these budget accounts, so they know exactly they need to pay these bills when they need to but when they need to pay it. That's it. So that's effectively what a budget is. So once you build your budget and what you expect, then you have to make sure what happens next is whatever you're doing, it runs to that budget or exceeds that budget. And if you don't, then you have to work out why. And if you can't do anything about it, then you have to cut your costs because maybe your sales aren't as good as what you expected them to be. So therefore, you have to look at cutting your costs. And that's kind of typically how a budget works. There is more to it. There's different types of costings. There's standard costing, there's marginal costing, there's job costing. There's all these different type of things that us management accountants, management accountant in industry, understand as well, and how to use that. You've seen that in a small case where we use variance analysis on our reports. Whereas I actually say, okay, there's what we expected, there's where we are, there's how much is attributable to the volume, and there's how much is attributable to the price.
Yeah.
You've got another one there, actually, you can do labor, but that's a different story. But that wouldn't apply to us. Okay, so that's the sort of things when you get management accountants, they can work that all out for you as well, especially in industry, because you want to know where you could be making a profit, but you could actually be lost. You could make a profit, but you could make a loss in one division. You can maybe make a loss on the labor efficiency, which is how efficient your labor is. You're expected to do something in 40 minutes. You end up doing it in an hour. So basically what you're saying is you're 50% less efficient, because if it was 40 minutes and you took another 20 minutes to do it, you were taking 20 minutes of what should have taken 40 minutes, which is 50%. So your efficiency is really 50%.
And that's where, it's all very well having, where you want to be, your target or your goal. But if you don't monitor what you're doing in the process to do that and how you're doing it, like picking up, like this is actually taking a wee bit longer than I thought initially. If you wait just till you get to the end, then you're not going to have the result that you expected, because you've not monitored it on the way along.
Absolutely. If you don't monitor this on the way, then what will happen is you'll get to the end and you go, oh my God, what can we do about it now? Absolutely nothing. Zero.
Too late then.
It's
Yeah.
gone.
And you've pointed that
All
out.
accounts reflect as a historical snapshot at that point in time that you take the accounts of what happened in the past period. In other words, the 6 months, 12 months, to 3 months, or whatever it is. And then also that's the profit and loss. And then what the balance sheet reflects is where the value is and what the value of your business is right now. In other words, what value is the assets, what value is the stock, what you got in the bank, just a snapshot. That's it. It doesn't do anything else other than takes a snapshot. And it's the health of your business. A lot of buy-to-let landlords, portfolio landlords especially, end up maybe being profitable, but they actually have a negative balance sheet because what they've done is they've extended themselves so much and leveraged themselves so much that the lending is actually more than the value of the property, but they can still be profitable.
Yeah.
And that's what happened when the credit crunch happened. So when the credit crunch happened out of everything, what happened is 20% was wiped off everybody's asset base. That was on average in the credit crunch. And basically what everybody had was 8% loan to value mortgages at that time. If not, I think they were doing 95% at that time. And probably quite a lot of people pushed as well, and a lot of surveyors bent the rules a bit and actually overvalued properties. So therefore, when they actually came down to value the properties, it was like, wait a minute, you've got negative. I went through that, where our portfolio was like negative. And on quite a few of the properties, they were worth negative at that point in time. But I tell you what, I was still coining it in every single month.
But you were still making an income.
Yeah, and I couldn't care less. Because it's like, I'm not selling them, so what difference does it make to me? The only thing you need to worry about is obviously if the bank then gets under pressure, which actually happened to a lot of landlords in the 2008 crash, they then have to recall the loans or reassess the loans and say, actually, your cover now doesn't cover the loan that we gave you in the first place. A lot of lenders today, watch out for this. Anybody that borrows and borrows and borrows and borrows and remortgages all the time, watch out, because what you'll see in the small print now is your lending criteria must hit no more than what you lent in the first place. In other words, 75% loan to value. So if you remortgage and remortgage and remortgage and remortgage, and the market takes a wee bit of turn, you still have to maintain your 75% loan to value. If it's gone down a bit and you're sitting at 80%, they'll expect you to pay 5% of that debt off.
I was just going to say, I'm glad you elaborated on that, because it's happened to so many people over the years that
so many landlords. I knew one landlord that lost 300 properties, just like that. I knew another one actually. It lost just as much as well in Kirkcaldy. Because he had them in all the names, his aunties and his uncles, and all. He convinced them all that this was the panacea. This was the second coming. It's like, oh, you'll never lose in property, and they were mortgaging to the hilt. Now me, I wasn't doing that.
Yeah,
I was up to a certain point, and I was like, no, take it easy. But I was always making sure there's tons of cash flow coming every single month to cover everything. So therefore, when that hit, they didn't really have that much margin to play with, because people then were losing their jobs and obviously not be able to pay their rent. Whereas I had that, and it was like, well, I'm all right, because I never lived on my income, and I still don't live on my
all goes back
business income today. Imagine that, eh? I don't live on it today, and everybody goes, what? You've got all that property, all that money coming in, you still don't take any money out of it, really? No, I don't. It's a fund. That's all. Yeah. And if anything comes to it, and what happened was the credit crunch came along. It was like, I wasn't making any money being an estate agent, but I was able to survive because I lived on my property income at that time. That's the only time I ever did that. And then I went back to living on the income I was generating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all I do. So that's how I make sure I de-risk everything. So when everybody goes, are you not worried about things like national insurance on the landlord, on landlord's income, because they're thinking about that now. You're not worried about the capital gains disappearing and getting taxed on your portfolio and everything like that. It's like, no.
So that's quite interesting, because then
easy.
It brings me to, because I was going to cover with you like the core kind of principles of like results and the importance of them. And one of the first ones was like defining like your outcome at the end. And you're always, especially with your buy to let, always very clear about what your end result's going to be. at the end before you even start, because you've de-risked it, you've went through it all, you've kind of risk analysis and it. So you've kind of got a dead set about where you're going to be, but you still have to monitor that journey as well.
Who on earth goes into a business
without
forecasting where they're going to, where they expect to be? At year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, and onwards. Who does that? That's people that just end up losing. They lose their focus. That's for one thing, because they don't understand where they were trying to aim for in the first place, because they've never actually set that goal. It's like saying, I tell you what, I'll climb a mountain. Well, what mountain are you climbing? I'm not really sure. I'm just walking up.
How long is it going to take? What the weather's going to be like? Are you fit enough to do that?
How long is it going to take? What the weather's going to be like? And everything. It's like, my God, imagine starting out, but a lot of small businesses actually start out like that. We'll give it a go. It's like, you've no idea if your market's there either. Imagine trying to sell shoes to people that don't actually use shoes at all and don't have any inclination to use shoes. I'm going to open a shoe shop. Maybe this isn't the place to open it. Or if you find out they have a need for shoes, then maybe it is the place to open it. But then you'll see how I said, if you find out they have a need.
Yeah.
So not just, I think they might have a need. It's like, do some market research first, for goodness sake. Ask some people. It's like, what do you like this for? You like this shoe? Do you like that shoe, or anything like that? That's why you get pre-order of books now. The book's not even written yet.
They just want to see how much interest.
They want to see how many people actually buy their book if they wrote it. It's like, about 10,000 people want to order my book. Oh, well, I'll just write up some shite. And 10,000 people will buy it. Hey, I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what goes on in some people's minds.
Waiting lists and
nobody will ever buy anything from them again, by the way. And car companies do it as well. Put a concept car. Why do you think they put a concept car at all these big shows? To see what the enthusiasm, see what the demand for something like that is, see what maybe the future could be for them as well. That is what that's all about. But we developed a carbon monoxide gas held one-person gas analyzer to put on put basically up the exhaust car. A traffic warden could have walked along, gas analyzer. We didn't have a working prototype at that time, believe it or not. But we mocked it up and took it to a show, and everybody went, "Oh my God, we would have that in a heartbeat." And then it was like, "Oh my God, we'll have to go and make this now." But they still don't made it to this day because they couldn't get it right. And I was like, no, this is what you should be doing. And they just wouldn't follow that pattern. I was only one of a numerous. I was a financial director at that time. But I tell you what, the demand's there and you can create demand. When I first started buy to let, I never bought a property until I knew somebody would want it. So I put an advert in the paper before I bought it and just said 1-bedroom flat for rent, where it named where it was, furnished, unfurnished, DSS considered, call this number. And it's like, it rang off the hook. It's like, okay, there's demand for 1-bed properties. Yes, I have now proved there's a market for this property at that price point. And then that's when I went, I'll buy it. 15,500, 1-bedroom flat. Still got it today.
I know.
Still got it today. That's 30 years. Think about that. That's 30 years. This is one flat I've had for 30 years. Now think about the logic of this. Let's just say, for example, what did I get for that one today? 395. Because I do a cheap one because it's something I know. 400. So 395. So 395 times 12. Divided by 52, which is the weeks. That's basically 91 quid a week. Now, when I started, I think that flat was £60 a week. So let's say, on average, over the last 30 years, I'll be conservative about this and say I maybe got £75 a week on average on that flat. So £75 times 52 times 30. I've made £117,000 in rent out of a flat I bought for 15.5 grand. I did refurbish it, remember? Put new windows in it, new heating system in it, and it's got a new kitchen in it as well.
Got the new kitchen and everything in it, yeah.
Yeah, new kitchen, new floor covers, everything. Insurance paid for that though.
It did go on fire.
The second time round, insurance paid for that, bro. That's how it's good to have a good insurer. But 117,000. So divide that by the 15,500 I paid, and basically it's paid for itself 7.5 times.
Yeah. Yeah,
Now
that's
you tell me that buy-to-let does not work and it won't to work in the future. It will work, and it will work every single time if you get the numbers right and if you understand what you're doing and you understand what's coming.
Mhm.
National insurance on, rental income, they'll no touch limited companies. So it's like, hey, bring it on.
Yeah.
It'll get rid of all the sole traders. It'll make our properties even more desirable. It'll push rents up. Hard lines, tenants. The government's doing it to you, not us.
Yeah, and I think as well, like obviously it's good to talk about buy to let in this, this topic for results and preempting what kind of results you're going to have, because it is very much still a viable thing to do, but there's so much people that have, because of all the changes and things in legislation and tax and mortgage rates and things, everybody's got such a negative outlook on buy to let now, and I think
you'll always need a roof over your head.
Yeah, I mean it's housing is always going to be there and always be
and if
needed.
you're sitting on an island, let's look at Scotland. If you're sitting on an island effectively, and admittedly there's only 1% of this island built on, believe it or not, that's weird, but that's the statistic I've been told. So when you look at that and you think about the restriction in planning and you think about how they do things and the limited amount of stock, remember Scotland, for example, is 6 years behind its target for housing, just to get to where it should be in the first place. 6 years behind. That means they have still to build 150,000 properties to catch up in Scotland. No chance. They can't even keep up with the 25,000 a year that they're building. So what do you think is going to happen in Scotland? Oh my God, you've got all these corporates coming in, building all these properties. It's like, what do you think? They're going to build 150,000? Because they're only building 600 at a time. So if you're building 600 at a time, 150 divided by 600, you've got to do 250 times that. We don't have the land available and the resources available to do that. Resources is another key factor in this. So see, when you think about delivering results and thinking about how that works and thinking about how the future will happen and the resources available to do that, you're still on a winner. Even though the politicians and everybody's got their pitchforks and torches out there and they're coming after you, and it's like, you've got no chance unless you get some sort of court order in the world, which will never happen. To take all the properties off everybody who owns a second property, it's like you've got no chance, and that'll never happen.
No.
So why do you think I'm no bothered? It's noise. It's just white noise. That's it. It's like what Steve Jobs said. It's white noise. It's the signal you want. And the signal you need to focus on is the fact that you will never build enough houses in Scotland, even England, to keep up with demand.
Yeah, demand for housing is always going to far outstrip what the availability is.
Of course,
and that's where the private sector comes into its own. Because, I mean, think about if you didn't have the private sector, where would all these people be? They would be completely displaced.
I know.
I mean, there's a lot of bigger landlords selling up or for whatever reason, liquidating their portfolio and things. Where are these people going? And then it's like all these people are vilifying landlords and they're just being greedy to get rid of them. It's like, but then people are losing their homes.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you look at things about defining clear outcomes, then you know exactly the objectives you're after, and then you look at the things about establishing a strong plan and understanding what that plan entails, the costs and the turnover and the margins you've got and the risk analysis involved in it, and where the market's going and where the future's going in housing, and where what the demographics are and the culture of our nation and how it evolves. You know exactly what you're doing there. And what anybody says, it's like, aye. The dogs will bark, but the caravan will still continue to move on. That's an old desert saying.
See, I've never heard that.
The caravan of camels used to walk, and the Egyptians used to say the dogs will bark, but the caravan will still move on. And it's like, that's effectively what it is. It's like, it will not make any difference. Yeah, we might be in for a tough time and all the rest of it, but if your margins are right, You don't need to worry about things like that. And as I always used to say, it's like if they wipe you out, then guess what? Everybody else is wiped out before you.
All go together, yeah.
Because they'll never get to you. And the reason that I know this, and it's the old story, and I'll tell it again, and it's a great story. It's a great analogy. It's true story. When we were younger, we had all these fish. We're bought at the we're caught at the docks, like Potley. And Potley's actually really expensive today now. And it's like we were just reeling them in all the time.
Yeah,
we thought we'd fill loads of carrier bags and take them down to the local Chinese, and it just never happened. But one day, we were walking past, and my friend, Mr. Fraser, you'll know who you are. He decided to walk in and go a portion of a ying tong, and it's like, oh my God, Dave, you idiot! And this is teenagers, just stupidity. And the guy went absolutely mental behind the counter, and he got his meat cleaver out and jumped over that counter, and he burst out the door and goes, "Run!" And we were like, oh my God, and we all ran at the same time. And we were all running, and basically for our lives at that point in time. That's what we thought was going on here, okay? So we're running for our lives. And what happened was we're running across the back of the car, but this is 4th Street.
All right,
Seacity. You know, Seacity. It was the Park-O. Was it Park-O? Yeah, I think it was, yeah, at that time. So basically it was the first one to open in Leiden. We're running across the back car park, away across to get down to the sea. And everybody, that boy's running after us. I mean, that would never fly today, would it?
No.
Running with his meat cleaver across the car park after young boys. It's like, what? So he's running after us, and we're running, and Dave is, he's a bit robust. So he's obviously the slowest. Guess who gets caught?
The slowest, Dave.
Yeah, of course. And guess who doesn't get caught? And at that exact point in time, I realized a life lesson. As long as you're running faster than everybody else, they're going to get caught first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said, if I go to the wall for any particular reason, everybody else is going before me.
Yeah.
And what happens there is, in housing especially, if everybody else goes before you, the government at some point in time is going to realize they've made a mistake, and they will stop before it gets to you.
Yeah.
And if they don't, who cares? We're all going to hell in the handbasket anyway.
Yeah, you either all go together, or, like you say, it stops before it gets to you if you keep yourself ahead of the game. Yeah.
And that's the point. That that's how I can say with pretty much certainty that everything will be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and like you say, you're obviously talking about these clear outcomes and the strong plan and things as well. We talk quite a lot, obviously, within and in relation to business and things. Obviously, more than likely you're going to have a team around you, but it's having each individual in that team be very clear on what their role is and what's expected of them, and then have that accountability. Because if you're trying to achieve something with a team, if everybody isn't very clear on what they're doing and what's expected of them, you're going to see that in a negative way in your results, especially when you look at them, throughout the year and trying to get to that end result without everybody having a clear objection in their mind.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, you have to have everybody on board.
Yeah.
So when you're doing anything, everybody else has to be on board with that same direction. Let me give you another analogy. And it's a true. You can go and do it yourself if you've got horses, for example. If you have 2 horses, it was actually a story I heard from a friend. He says he walked into an office one day and he saw 2 horses in a picture, and they were pulling in opposite directions. And he said to the guy behind the desk, he went, "What is that all about?" And he went, "Well, it's to remind me every single day that you have to both pull in the same direction. Pulling the opposite directions doesn't achieve anything other than it's a stalemate. You don't go anywhere if you're pulling the opposite directions. So you've got a complete stalemate in that situation." He says, the interesting thing behind horses, if you get one horse, for example, pulling 10 tons, okay, they'll pull 10 tons. But if you put 2 horses pulling, right, you would think they would pull 20 tons. But no, they pull something like 100 tons together.
So how does that work then?
Yeah. Try it yourself. If you've got weights, a cable system, and I do it, if you've got a cable system and you pull maybe, I don't know, 30 kilos of weights with one arm, okay?
Yep.
You pull 30 kilos of weights with one arm, you go, okay, that's pretty difficult. It's like, okay. Now, if you take the 2 arms and you think it's probably just 60 kilos you'll pull, then you possibly will pull the 60 kilos because you're pulling with 2 arms. But I think you'll pull more, and I'm sure you do. It's the same with standing on your feet. You could elevate yourself on your feet. You know, for example, on your toes, you can go on your tiptoe on 1 foot, and it'll be quite difficult. But if you do 2 feet, it's easy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so it's that thing about, and you'd think but it's a lot easier than what you think it is in comparison. You could last a lot longer, if that makes sense. So it's these things. The moral of the story is, everybody pulling the same direction achieves a synergistic effect. In other words, it's more than the sum of the parts it's achieved. So if everybody pulled, for example, 10 ton, and you put them all together, they'll pull more than the multiple of what they're pulling already. They'll pull a lot more. And I don't know what it is. It's maybe levers or something like that, or scientific. But you can look it up for yourself. But that's effectively, that's true. And that's how so many businesses excel, and some actually don't excel as good, because they've got people in their organisation are just basically pulling the wrong direction, and they're quite happy to do that because they've got their own agendas.
Rather than have that collective, this is where we're going. And I was just going to say, there'll be a lot of unsuccessful businesses out there, or businesses that maybe went under, that they've had a whole team who are not clear on what their plan is, not clear on what their objectives are, and they're all pulling in different directions. And that comes down to just poor communication, to be honest. You're not communicating properly, like what's expected of people.
You could say it's poor communication, but I think some people can't be arsed.
Yeah, you do have that as well.
Yeah, I think some people lose their vision.
Right, okay.
And they no longer should be within the company or part of that organisation.
Sometimes as well.
Because they try to coast it. I'll give you a classic example of that. It's called local authority.
Yeah.
It's called, you can call it that. I mean, the amount of money it's wasted in local authorities, and we all see it, and yet they can't see it, and yet we all see it happening, and we're thinking, oh my God, why is it like that? Why is it doing that? And that sometimes comes down to divisionalization. People have their own empires to build within, and they don't want anybody else to touch their empire. And it's like they become totally focused on what they want to achieve at the detriment of other people. What happened to, I've got an excess in my budget, housing division, I'm not using that excess this year, do you want it? They don't do that.
They don't do that, no.
No, what they do next year in local authority budgeting is they turn around and they say, oh well, you've not overspent this year and you've underspent this year, so we'll give you the same budget for next year plus inflation, and we'll let you run with that. But wait a minute, I decided maybe to delay things and do something next year. It's like, I really need that, and I need what I was going to get anyway.
Well, yeah.
No, but we're cutting back now. It's like, that's why you get a huge amount of money just getting spent for the sake of getting spent, because they don't want to lose their budget.
You see as well, yeah, and I think you say like within teams and things, you do sometimes find people do have their own agenda and don't like to, in order for businesses to move on to the next stage and probably excel from where they are, as you need to change and things need to change. But a lot of people don't want to embrace the change that's needed. And then that could hold everybody back as well, because they're kind of stuck in their ways. And that's when you start to find the cracks in a team, I've noticed.
It can. So you were right when you go back to saying about communicating effectively. And it's getting people to buy into what you're doing and buy into your vision.
Yeah.
It's the Clive Gillum thing, from Beaufort, that he told me, Jim, what you'll learn one day is you have to win people over your way of thinking. And not just say, well, it's that way or the highway. That's you've got to win people over in order for them to follow your dream, because they have their own.
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, why am I doing this? Oh, well, you're doing it for the money. It's like a lot of people just don't work in a job for the money. They get the reward out of it. They get the social reward out of it. They get they get a good feeling about the job they're working. Not very many, mind you.
Recognition and things as well. I think
Yeah, that's the sort of thing they're looking for. So recognition is just as important. For some people, the title is important to them. You can put them on minimum wage and call them a financial director, and they'll go, yee.
As long as
like,
got that,
it's like, but you're only on minimum wage. It's like, but I love the title because I can tell everybody I'm a financial director.
Yeah.
These are, you don't know. It's about understanding people and how they work and what's important to them. That's the key here. So, and then also giving them consistent updates. Why do you think we do weekly meetings?
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm always updating people about what's going on, about what we're doing, about the campaigns and what the advertising campaigns we're doing, all these different things, and it's possibly having that open dialogue, and it's a two-way street. It's not just the one way. This is what we're doing, and it's like, well, what do you think? I mean, I've got somebody approached me this week and says, oh, I'd love to work as a train as an estate agent, director level mentoring. And I've sent it to the team and says, what do you think? This person actually come across really well. I will employ someone almost immediately if they can demonstrate to me they can add value over and above what we've got. Why would you know? So that's the sort of thing you've got to think about. So it's having that environment where people can, but also having that environment where people can openly talk. I mean, look at how the room was when I said, right, okay, let's all practice our public speaking and we'll go one after the other.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
I was okay. I because of the room of the people I was in, I didn't really feel. But I know
some people go, oh my God, I've got to speak. And it's like, wait a minute. This is a safe environment. This is people. We all know each other. We all work with each other. We're no bothered, if you muck it up or if you do something that's no right. It doesn't have to be perfect. The whole point is you just got to do it.
Yeah, I think if I was in a room, a bigger room of people with people I didn't know, I would probably feel different.
Well, I've done it. I've been thrown on stage, and it's like, you get up and do that. Oh my God, there's everybody in the audience. It's like, I'm not really comfortable with this. Okay,
that would push me outside my comfort zone as well.
As soon as you hear you're not comfortable with, congratulations, you are growing in a positive way. So uncomfortable is good.
It is, and pushing yourself is always something that you need to do in order to move forward, I think, as well.
But then in order to deliver results, it's also about leveraging your team, which is empowering them.
Yeah, I think it's very important, especially if you're part of a team or leading a team, to make sure that everybody, you're able to bounce off each other and like you say, that empowerment for each other.
Look at it this way. The senior people in our company do not need to get approval for their holidays. They just take them when they want. They know the parameters, okay? Because it's like, why would you then employ a senior person in your organization only to then micromanage them and say, you've got to get me to approve your holidays?
Yeah.
Really?
Or not have the trust in them to manage that.
Well, that's a trust issue. That's a trust. There is a point at some point in the future, it might be you can have unlimited holidays.
As long as you're
hitting the parameters.
Yeah. If you're delivering the results, then
if you turned over 3 million a year, right, working 1 month a year, and it's like, and you were only expected to do 500,000, it's like, okay, take the rest of the year off. In fact, can you do that with somebody else? Can you get somebody else to teach them to do it at the same time? It's like, then we'll do that. Yeah, that's just that. These are the sort of things. 4-day weeks. Start at 8, finish at 5. Instead. So these are all different things that you can incentivize and help people, and that sometimes is more productive. I read this morning. It's like I read it again. The guy that gave took his pay cut and gave everybody in the organisation 70,000 a year, carte blanche, and just says even the cleaner 70 grand a year. Says that's what it is, and yet his business is still streaming. His productivity went up, and his success went up, and his margins went up, and his profits went up, and all because of that. So these are all the things that you can do. So it's all about empowering people to make decisions.
Yeah.
Andrea just contacted me the night, says, "Oh, I'm just checking to see if I'm wanting to buy something, and it's like a tabletop thing for your laptop." And I went, "Okay, but you don't need to phone me and ask me. You just go and order it." Went, "I just wanted to give you the courtesy of doing it." Well, okay.
Yeah.
So in future, don't bother phoning me. Just order it.
But it's again putting your trust in somebody and giving them that autonomy to be able to make decisions without, like you say, you don't want to have to micromanage your whole team.
Well, you're not going to go and buy it. You're going to buy something that's no relevant. It's no. Everybody knows the way I think, and everybody understands. It's like if you can justify to me or justify to yourself, you could save an absolute fortune in doing a particular thing by buying something or investing in a product to do it. And that would save a fortune over a certain period of time. And it's clear cut, it would save a fortune. Then just go and buy it.
See, to you and I, that's quite clear. If you're going to invest money in something that's going to far outweigh the cost of it and save time, then it's a no-brainer. But a lot of people don't.
If you're going to save time, because time is a limited resource, that's the key here. Time has to be a limited resource for you to be able to save it. If you've got loads and loads of time, you're not saving anything. You're just saying, "Oh, well, we can do the job quicker." It's like, okay, but you've still got loads of time, and I'm still paying you for it. So what difference would it make about doing it quicker if you're still getting paid and you've got all the time in your hands? So there has to be a limiting resource somewhere that you're actually solving in order to make that resource less limiting as it is. That's why that's all about that's management accounting. I used to do that every single time. I think the biggest one I got was like millions, about 5 or 6 million for the gas turbines at Tillis Russell. When the project managers came to me in the power station, because they're done on power station, said, "We need to justify this to the board, Jim. We're going to spend 6 million changing all our boilers to gas from oil, because oil was price high was high that time and gas wasn't, and we need to get some sort of justification about the payback on this, about changing." And I went, "Okay, leave it with me." Put all the numbers together, put all the spreadsheets together, and put 2-year payback. It's like the board can't argue with that, because their criteria is a 2-year payback, and it was done and dusted, and it was true to its word. Unfortunately, something's happening. You can hedge it by forward buying all the gas and saying, "We're going to buy that amount of gas over the next 2 years, and this is the price we're going to pay for it," and that's hedging, which is perfect. But after that, it's like gas prices began to go up, so therefore it kind of made it no viable, but it still paid for itself. And then they went to biomass, which, in my opinion, was crazy. But then that's why they're probably no longer here.
I was just going to say, do you think that contributed to their demise?
And the sell-off of the silver, which was all the land that had. It's like they were going to run it at some point, and I remember them talking about it and saying, somebody actually piped up and said, and I'm sure I heard that somewhere as well, it's like, there's only so much silver you can sell off until you actually run out. It's kind of like socialism. Socialism's great until you run out of money. That's what socialism is. Fantastic until you run out of money. It's like everybody could be equal. When you run out of money, that's when you can't be equal anymore. You have to get the people that actually made the money in the first place to go and make the money again. That's what we forget about our economy. So avoid micromanagement as well as a really key one, I think.
And we talk about results, and I think, if you've got just say you've got a target for the end of the year, and that's what you're obviously monitoring in results. But when you get to the end of that year, it's not just a one-time thing, because we do this and I do this every year. We roll on, right? Like, okay, we need to do next year's now. Do you know? And you have to forecast that well before you even start. It's not just a one-time. This is the result I want to achieve. Oh, I'm here now. That's the end. That's the end of it. Especially if you're trying to run a business, you need to have continual targets and results to try and achieve, and a plan to do that, and a constant kind of monitoring system.
Yeah, definitely, I would say.
Because a lot of people do they'll get to that point where they think, right, I've achieved that now, and they just stop, and it's like, so what you do next? Where do we go next? What's the next?
It's like
stage?
climbing a mountain. It's like training for the Olympics. If I won the gold medal, it's like, what are you going to do next then? I'm just going to stop. Okay, prepare for the worst then, because obviously you just didn't do that. I mean, I've got my marathon training plan here, and then I'll move on to ultra marathon after that.
Yeah.
So I've got it all printed out. This is what I'm
See,
doing.
you're saying
I'm giving up my
you
swimming.
I was just
My
going to say, you've
swimming,
not even
my
done the marathon yet.
Yep, over 2 kilometers in the pool every single week on a Wednesday morning. That is now stopped.
Mhm.
I will be concentrating on running.
Okay, but I like how you say, like, you've not started the marathon yet, but you've already thought, when I've done that, I'm going to move on to the ultra marathon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
of
you've always got the next thing in mind.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the sort of, and I've got an eating plan in place as well. You know, I've got an organic, high protein diet. I'll be getting, and it's delivered to the door. It's like, I'm no flipping making it. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not getting involved in that. It's like chef, and it's
Mhm.
organic, the whole lot. So that combined with everything else I'll eat during the day, it means I'm going to get a good consumption of high protein to build muscle and actually keep me going. The other thing is quite important. I was watching Diary of a CEO this morning. It's like, oh my God, they said, the guy says you've got to have 1.6 grams of protein to every kilogram of your body. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to the NHS saying 55 grams a day?
Mhm.
It's like, if I'm 78 kilograms multiplied by 1.6, that means I've got to get 125 grams of protein a day.
That's quite
That's
a lot,
more
is it
than
not?
double NHS recommendation.
Yeah, that's a lot.
He's saying 1.6 minimum. So now I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's why when I continue to run, this is why runners are really thin most of the time, because
Mhm.
they shred muscle
Right.
mostly. So when you build, you start running, it's like you start to shred it all because your muscle works differently when you're running. And also your body starts to, if it's not got any carbs in it, if you've not got any carbs or energy, then what it does is it steals the protein and it changes the protein to carbs.
Right.
So it starts to change it to carbs, so you can run on it. So it's a sugar basically to energize your body. That's why your muscles start to go strip for that reason. So again, these are all things that you need to learn. See the amount of learning I'm doing way beforehand and preparation and just working out exactly what I need to do to get the end result, which is next May.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's like you're well before you even started, and you're already thinking about how you're going to do it, how you're going to get there, and what you're going to do next as well.
Yeah. And then the stages I'm going to go through, the mountains I'm going to climb, the marathons I'm going to have to run, and then possibly the ultra marathon I'm going to have to run the month before the one I'm finally going to do.
Yeah, it's also I've got in here a bit, obviously, and this is something that you've been guilty of not doing over the years, is kind of recognizing your benchmarks and celebrating that you're kind of miniature wins as you go along. And you've admittedly said throughout the years you never ever stood back and thought, all right, okay, that was quite good, I've achieved that. You just kept going. And do you think that's a good or a bad thing?
Say that again.
So celebrating your mini wins as you go along, when if you're looking at delivering results and hitting targets, and as you do that as you go along, kind of celebrating that and kind of acknowledging the fact that you've achieved this, and then before you move on. But you admittedly have said through the years, when you were doing stuff, you were just like,
I still do.
Soldier on, and never. Yeah, I know you do.
Now. Yeah, and I tell people what I'm intending to do, and they're going, "Oh my God!" It's like, and you're what, 58? Yeah, and what's your point? It's like, and they're like, almost like, well, most people at that age are going for getting ready to retire.
Starting
and
to
I'm
slow
going to
down.
speed up. I actually had that conversation with someone yesterday, Ewan Sparks. When I told him what I was intending to do, he was like, "Oh my God, I'm slowing down," he says, "and you're speeding up." But why would you not? Why would you not? Why would you slow down?
Yeah. Because then people have this misconception, I think, that, as you approach that kind of time in life, it's like, let's just slow down and kind of.
What time in life, though?
Like the 60, around the 60 age, where people retirement, that's what comes into mind for people. And it's like, let's slow down and take a step back, and rather than, let's soldier on.
Let's ramp it up. Fucking heck. It's like, effectively, retirement is the opportunity to do all the things you always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to be a ballerina If you wanted to do ballet or something like that,
Mhm.
then fucking heck, just go and do it. Well, I'm
Yeah.
60. It's like, who cares? Who's
Yeah.
going to? Who? It's for you. It's not for anybody else. And that's the point. It's like everybody writes themselves a lot. Well, not everybody. A lot of people write themselves off because it's
Mhm.
conditioned in your mind
Yeah.
that when you get older, you're not able to do as much. I do not believe that for 1 minute. I think it's a state of mind.
Mhm.
And they're going about, oh, physically and the facts and all the rest of it. To hell with the facts. When the dream's big enough, the facts don't count.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
effectively what it is.
I was watching a thing the other day, and it's a place that there's blue zones in the world where people live a lot longer
Yeah, over
than
100 years.
yeah. And there's one in Italy, and I watched it. These guys went there and met with them, and it was quite interesting actually, just how they live and what they do and the longevity of their life and things. And it's
Yeah, they I
completely
think they
different to
kind
the
of
rest of the world.
take it easy, and then they tend to have Tai Chi and all the rest of it, and have social interaction, which is one of the things that
Yeah,
actually is supposedly, remember supposedly, and to a longer life. This is the
yeah,
connection that they've made in all these communities out in the blue zones. They have that embracing life. It's like, okay, but that doesn't mean to say you have to stop running. You have to do you stop. This is,
mhm,
and you have to slow down. Who says you've got to slow down? Can just have all these interactions and have that social connections with everybody else anyway, and just no slow down?
yeah,
Why do you have to slow down? Who said this? Where is it written in the rule books?
yeah.
But a
I do,
lot of
I do
people
think
say that.
I do think that a lot of it, I mean, obviously social interaction, all that comes in it, but I mean, a lot of it is to do with what you put in your body. It has to be.
I've proved to myself conclusively every single time, just for me, without anybody else's input or any facts or scientific facts, every single time I put my heart monitor on, which is a proper one, better
Mhm.
than the ones that you get in the medical and the
Yeah.
doctors. I put that on every single morning. Sometimes I'm in the heart rate stage 1 zone. And it's like, oh,
Mhm.
that's not so good. And as soon as I've exercised, I've run, it's like I take the blood pressure again, and it's like, oh my God, it's dropped into normal significantly, and everything's working normal now, all because I exercised. So what does it say then if people tell you to slow down, and everybody gets the impression you shouldn't do things like that? And what do you think happens to their blood pressure and all the rest of it? It goes up and up and up.
Mhm.
And then they wonder why they died of blood pressure related diseases, strokes, for example. No surprise.
Yeah. Stroke's one of the biggest killers.
I kind of think I've worked it out.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, well, we're going to start. I'm going to start to wrap it up today about obviously delivering results, but I think what we could recap on, I think, is the common obstacles that possibly people might come up against if they're trying to deliver results and get to achieving their goals and what they've set out. And having unclear objectives is one thing. Without that clear vision of what your actual desired outcome is, then you could really lose focus if you don't have that set out, and then start working on things that aren't related to what you're actually trying to achieve, the wrong priorities as such. I think that's something. So unclear objectives is something that you really don't want to become in the path of your achieving your objectives, obviously.
Mhm.
Poor communication we spoke about, especially if you're in a team. I think if you've got that inadequate communication, it could lead to, misaligned efforts. Do you know what we're talking about? The two horses pulling in the opposite direction. That's definitely where that comes into. And I think you need to have everybody on the same page and heading in the same direction as well. And then that ties in with accountability and things, and people's accountability for what their tasks are within a team. We run teams, Jim, and if not everyone knows what their role is and what their contribution is to the end result, it can become very messed up. And then you're all working hard, but you're not actually achieving the results.
I think they do know they're what they're meant to be doing, but I think for some people they conveniently forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where you need to have accountability in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then persistence, as you said, Jim, obviously achieving those significant results and things does require an overall, persistence to kind of overcome the challenges and the journey to get to where you want to be. And the only way to do that, I think, like you say, we do we do weekly meetings, Jim, and they're so important because you need the feedback from what you're actually doing and what you're doing day to day. Is it actually relevant to what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
And if you don't get that important feedback, do you know whether it's from your customers, from your superiors, or whatever you're within your team and your organization, you need that feedback, and it's necessary for ultimately for the success of your own success and your team as a whole and your business.
Yeah, I would agree. Look at Diary of a CEO, classic example.
Yep.
Apparently, Diary of a CEO is the second biggest podcast in the world now. I'm not very
Really?
sure if that's actually factually correct, but somebody actually mentioned it this morning in one of his podcasts behind Joe Rogan. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was. But do you think when he was sitting with Johan Hari in his house, and Johan was his wee recorder, because that's what he did, Stephen Bartlett, when he first started out, he went to people's houses and he sat with his wee recorder and he said, let's talk about the medical stuff and all the rest of it, and what you want to talk about, Johan. And that's the type of thing he started out doing. So what got him to where he is now? And it's persistence and consistency, and it's disciplining himself. His life isn't his own, by the way. He just constantly does that 24/7. And he knows that at some point in time. He says, I am going to burn out at some point in time, so I need to start stepping back and taking it a bit easier and all the rest of it. And he recognizes that. So that's fine. And it will. There's everything. It gets to a tipping point. So most
systems, a shelf life type thing,
No, most systems get to a tipping point where you get to a point where you don't really need to do anything else, and it'll carry itself. Compound interest is a classic example. So when you're compounding, you've got the base amount at the beginning, but then you could start to get a point, because the way you're living, it's like, I could do it, and you can get to a point where you could actually still take money out, and it won't really affect it that much. In the overall goal, because your compounding wealth is actually extremely more than what you're actually living on day to day for now, and that's so it'll always go up irrespective. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. So it's discipline, consistency, and application, and it's time it involves that. And like the last one you've got here, you've got inadequate feedback and other, and you're not able to, you don't gather the proper information. Classic example is somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to go with someone else," and I said to Susan, I went, "No, well, you go and phone them and ask them why." So not the stage, but you go and phone them and ask them why. So it's no confrontational. Just say, I'm doing a review.
They'll probably open up and say, if there is a reason, they'll probably
do a quick review, see how you got on, see how things happened. I noticed you'd actually gone on with so-and-so, what's the, is there anything we could do? Anything we could do to improve that next time round? Mr. Branson does it all the time. First thing he asks people, if they've lived at one of his places, his Virgin Limited Edition, if they've been on one of his ships or his train or a plane, or how did you get on? What would you improve? What was is there anything you would improve? It's classic. He asks every single time, irrespective, no matter.
And that kind of question or follow up isn't necessarily to turn somebody back around. It's to learn from why they made a different decision and went with someone else or went to another company.
And how could you improve? How could you improve that next time to say how to get someone with you? That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, definitely. Good. So that was delivering results, and I think that the importance of delivering results, no matter what you're doing, whether it's your own business, whether it's your buy-to-let business, whether you're running a company, everybody needs to be on board and on the same page, and consistently delivering results and monitoring them throughout your that period until you're trying to get to whatever your outcome or your target is. It's so important. So delivering results. Hopefully that's been quite helpful to everybody. Thanks for obviously joining in with some analogies and stories to kind of depict the importance of delivering results, Jim. And Jim and I will be back next Monday, 12:30 as usual. And anybody that's jumping in the comments on the rerun, I will come back to them. And thanks everyone for tuning in today. And we'll leave it there.
Okay, bye-bye for now.
Right, Jim. Thanks. Bye.